This was not a focused road trip. We didn't hit every major landmark or do the traditional Northern California bucket list checks. This was me coming home and reconnecting with all the things I love about Northern California. The quirkiness of San Francisco, the scenic beauty of the Bay, the alpine views of the Sierra Nevadas, and the preserved heritage of the Old West and pioneer days. This trip started in San Francisco, then crossed the Golden Gate into the North Bay, exploring the countryside before road tripping east to Lake Tahoe, detouring out and back into an old mining town, then paying respects at the Donner Party Memorial Site before finishing with a wonderful Portuguese meal in San Jose before flying back to the East Coast. It wasn't planned perfectly. It was, but then a wildfire messed up those plans. But sometimes chaos leads to unexpected joys. Even if the locations seem random, they all come together to tell a story about California. Not about the best things to do, but the best things to experience. So when you're ready, let's dive in. California has always been a land of movement and reinvention. Its landscapes couldn't be more different. Ocean cliffs and snowy peaks, mega cities and dusty ghost towns, freeway sprawl and scenic forest trails. Yet the thread that ties it all together is people in motion. For thousands of years, native peoples like the Ohlone along the coast and the Washoe in the Sierra moved with the seasons, following food, water, and trade routes that stitched together coast and mountains. Then came the Spanish. Starting in the late 1700s, padres and soldiers pushed north, leaving a chain of missions, pueblos, and presidios all the way from San Diego to Sonoma. Their movement reshaped the land, a legacy that's still visible in California's place names, architecture, and traditions. By the mid-1800s, another tide swept through, pioneers and gold seekers dragging wagons over the Sierra Nevada. Some, like the Donner Party, became tragic legends. Others filled the mining camps of Virginia City and Nevada City, turning raw mountainsides into boomtowns of saloons, stagecoaches, and stories that still echo today. The railroads that followed stitched together coast and mountains, fueling San Francisco's rise as the Paris of the West. And soon enough, movement flipped directions again. City dwellers escaped the fog for Lake Tahoe, arriving by train and paddle wheel steamers, trading crowded streets for pine forests, jazz bands, and alpine air. And today, we still follow those same routes, only by car. In a single day, you can sip iced coffee in Sausalito, climb switchbacks once feared by wagon trains, wander through a saloon where Mark Twain sharpened his wit, and then stand in silence at a memorial where pioneers once camped beneath the snow. Some were so desperate they turned on each other. And for this trip, we did just that. Not the turning on each other part, of course, the car route thing. My road trip adventure started in San Francisco, where I met up with my cousin and her best friend downtown. After checking into our hotel, we had a quirky night planned. Dinner at Cantaru, a Venezuelan Chinese fusion spot. Some dishes worked and some didn't, but it was definitely memorable and not a fusion you commonly find. From there, we walked over to the ferry building for drag bingo and an outdoor showing of Clueless. Super fun, but by the end, we were frozen, so we headed back to the hotel. The next morning, we went hunting for pastries in the inner sunset at Bread Belly. It's a small place, but full of incredibly crafted treats. It was hard just to pick one thing, so we got several and definitely spent too much, but the spread we had was incredible. We took our pastries to go and drove up to Presidio Park, where we ate with gusto, with the Golden Gate Bridge rising in the background. The Presidio is a really cool place to just walk around as well. They have some beautiful landscaping and several places to just stop and take in the views. From there, it was time to cross the bridge ourselves. We crossed the Golden Gate and headed out towards Point Bonita Lighthouse, which ended up being closed, unfortunately. But even with the lighthouse being closed, there's still some awesome views from that vantage point. And so after snapping some photos, we decided to grab lunch at Sausalito. Be warned that on gorgeous sunny days during the weekend, everybody comes out to enjoy it, so you'll find lots of spots with long wait times. We actually lucked out at the Trident, which came with sweeping bay views and delicious chowders. Afterwards, we walked around the downtown and grabbed some ice cream before driving north to Santa Rosa. That night, we stayed at my cousin's father-in-law's ranch, where his horses and donkeys grazed in the fields, and the sunset looked straight out of a painting. The next morning, we brunched at Howard Station in Occidental. It's a cute little spot serving up organic California meals in a train station themed setting. The meal was filling enough to tide me over for my trip back across the bay to my sister's. While there's no BART yet connecting the North Bay to the East Bay, there are other methods to get around if you don't have a car. One of them is the ferry that leaves from Larkspur. It's a nice scenic journey with views of the Golden Gate Bridge again and the infamous San Quentin prison. It drops you off at the ferry building, and from there you can hop on any of the BARTs to other parts of the bay, which is pretty convenient if you're carless. I got the line taking me to Brentwood, where my mom scooped me up, and naturally the day ended with tacos. The following weekend, the next adventure began, this time heading east, chasing the pines, lakes, and alpine skies of the Sierra Nevadas. We arrived at Lake Tahoe in the early afternoon after a short drive from the Bay Area. The scenery is always gorgeous, going from rolling grasslands to alpine mountains. Our hotel for the weekend was the Beach Retreat and Lodge, which was just a little bit outside the main center of town, but right on the lake. After half a day of driving, we opted for a low-key Friday evening. So low-key that I was lazy about filming and forgot to shoot more video at the Italian spot we ate at for dinner. So please humbly accept my single video that showcases the amazing view from the restaurant and a photo of the delicious lamb chops that I ordered. Saturday morning, we started the day with pancakes at Heidi's Pancake House, which was actually just a short walk from the hotel. It's been serving up meals since 1964 and definitely has some old school retro vibe to it. They really going hard on the Swiss cottage theme with little touches dotted everywhere. Even your iced tea is served in these giant plastic steins. The menu is pretty extensive. There's something for everyone. It's not gourmet by any means, but it's not trying to be. It was good and filling and exactly what you think Swiss-themed diner food would be. Bellies full, we headed out for our first activity of the day. In researching activities for us to do, I learned that Tahoe had some interesting historical sites that you could tour, and being a history nerd and not having anything else planned, I was excited to drag my family along to learn some things. This stretch of lake shoreline was once known as the Talik Resort, a luxurious summer destination in the early 1900s. Wealthy families from San Francisco and Sacramento would arrive by train, staying in grand estates with servants' quarters and boathouses on the lake. It was Tahoe's Gatsby era. Think extravagant parties, jazzy suits, and fancy schmancy yachts in the crisp mountain air. There were 3 large estates, and today 2 of them are preserved through a cluster of surviving buildings that you can walk through. We joined a guided tour of the Pope Estate, where the docents dress in period outfits, helping it to feel more like you were stepping back in time. I have completely forgotten the name of the super nice lady giving the tour, but the butler was called Frederick, and he kept calling her Madam, so that's her name. Madam and Frederick were full of information regarding the house and the Pope family. They led us through each of the rooms, sharing anecdotes and little tidbits like how George Pope actually referred to the house as the Vatican Lodge, which is meant to be a funny play on their last name. The estate is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, so you're really stepping back into time to see how they lived in the early 1900s. It's a pretty thorough tour. The house is 5,000 square feet, and they take you through mostly everything from the servants' rooms, bathrooms, the family rooms, the office, the dining area, and then ending in the kitchen, all with relics and period pieces to give you a better sense of how they lived back then. They recreated Edith Pope's room as her children remembered it to be, complete with her closet of outfits, dresser items, and a tray of something she typically would have had for breakfast. It actually looked pretty good, it was just missing some bacon. George Pope's room is given the same level of detail, and I just love all these tiny mementos that really give you a sense of the person and their history. After going through the upstairs rooms, Madam and Frederick lead you back downstairs to the dining room and then through the servants' areas. The kitchen is still a working space where they host a summer program for kids called Kitchen Kids, where they learn to bake 1920s recipes, which I think is just a really fun way that they're keeping history alive for the next generation. The tour concludes outside, where they then encourage you to explore the rest of the grounds, of which I did while my mom and sister hung out by the lake, pretty much over the history. I thought it was pretty cool that they recreated all of the guest houses and the servants' quarters with the same level of detail that they gave to the main house. You were able to get a lifelike resemblance to what it might have been like if you were the nanny, the butler, the tutor, the chauffeur, maid, or the gardener. On our way back to the parking lot, we passed by the Baldwin Estate, which is the other preserved estate on the grounds. This mansion was set up more as a museum and were limited in the rooms that you could explore, but it was a good place to pop in and get info on the area if you were unable to take the Pope tour. So after our little morning excursion, we took a short break back at the hotel before we headed over to Zephyr Cove Resort for a 2-hour lake cruise aboard a classic paddle wheel steamboat. To get on the boat, you do have to enter the resort area, and there is a parking fee to get in, which depends on the season. For the tour itself, you can book your tickets online, but you also have the option to buy them at the dock when you get there. The area in front of the boat dock is really nice. They have a restaurant near the water and a mile-long stretch of beach that you can hang out to swim or do rentals. The boat's name is the MS Dixie II and is named after the original MS Dixie that was brought over from the Mississippi River. It has 3 passenger decks, including 2 climate-controlled levels, an open-air seating level, a bar, and a full restaurant. We started out on the top level during the initial launch, but then headed indoors after a while to get my niece out of the sun. You can order food and drinks on each of the indoor levels, but if you go down to the 3rd bottom level, you'll find much shorter lines. The tour is about 2 hours long. It takes you right across the lake to Emerald Bay, where it shows you one of the other Gaspé era mansions called Viking's Holm Castle, which isn't accessible by car. You can either hike down to it from the main road or arrive by boat. One of the rich ladies of the time, Miss Laura Josephine Knight, built this for her summer home and wanted it to resemble a Scandinavian castle, so hence the name. We were told she would have her butler take her and her guests by boat to that little island in the mornings to have their coffee. Oh, rich people and their quirky ways. The weather for this tour was perfect. A clear, sunny day that really showed off the blues of the lake. It was just a really chill, affordable way to enjoy the lake without the price of renting your own boat. We capped off the evening back at the hotel fire pit with pizza, wine, and s'mores. Lazy filming was the theme of the weekend, so while I didn't share the videos we got of the delicious pizza we DoorDashed, I did remember to show the tasty marshmallows we roasted. The hotel gives out free kits every night, which is a brilliant hospitality move if I may say so. We ended the day watching the sun set on the lake, and I don't think there could have been a more picturesque ending. Early Sunday morning, my mom, niece, and I snuck out while my sister slept in. We found this cute little cafe that was highly rated and served empanadas. Because babies like to get up at the butt crack of dawn, we were the first ones there and really got to enjoy the vibe of this place before the Sunday morning crowd started filling in. I recommend you guys come check this place out. They have lovely greenery everywhere, and the coffee and the food were delicious. My mom got a latte and I got a matcha, and they were so good we got 2 rounds. Of course I ordered the empanadas to eat. One was spinach and cheese and the other was chorizo, and both were really tasty. My mom got their almond bliss waffle, which was so good. You won't be disappointed if you come here, guys. I mean, unless you hate waffles and empanadas, then don't come here, but you do you. After leaving the cafe and picking up my sister, we headed out for a quick day trip. About an hour's drive from Lake Tahoe lies Virginia City, a place that feels somewhere between a movie set and a time machine. While most ghost towns in the Old West are totally abandoned, this one is still alive. You'll find creaky boardwalks and weathered saloons, but also people who live and work here every day. Virginia City exploded in the 1860s when miners struck silver, like a lot of it. The Comstock lode became one of the richest deposits in U.S. history, transforming this dusty frontier outpost into a boom town practically overnight. It helped to fund the Union during the Civil War and launched the writing career of a young reporter named Samuel Clemens, who began calling himself Mark Twain right here in Virginia City. Today, it's one of the best preserved historic towns in the country. Still dusty, still haunted, and still very much alive. Our first stop was at the Old Washoe Club, once a swanky gentleman's club for the silver elite. Built in 1875, it was one of the most exclusive clubs in the West, complete with a billiards room, reading parlor, and private meeting spaces for the Comstock's wealthiest mine owners. These days, it's more famous for its ghosts than its guest list. It's allegedly so haunted that Ghost Adventures did a show on it back in 2004, which the club proudly displays next to their crypt. We took a daytime tour through its upper floors. The tour was interesting. It hit all the creep factors. Crumbling floors and walls? Check. Assortment of random creepy children's dolls? Check. This particular creepy doll had uranium glass eyes. How fun. This doll supposedly houses a spirit who likes to light up a cat ball. Oh, and let me not spoil for you all the random ass mannequins dotted around the rooms for no apparent reason than other to give you minor heart attacks. Like, why are we giving the ghost things to play with? Oh, what's behind this corner, you say? Boom, child mannequin. Unnecessary. This place is creepy enough. The tour guides, though, are great and will share loads of stories. One of the better known ghosts is a woman named Lena, a former sex worker who was murdered in one of the upstairs rooms. Visitors say they've caught glimpses of her near the spiral staircase. She's been spotted so often they just call her the Lady in Blue. Then there is Shot Glass Steve, allegedly a ghost who hangs out downstairs, still working his way through the bourbon. People say bar stools slide on their own, and shot glasses sometimes go missing. Between the two of them, you've got tragic heartbreak and ghostly bar antics. I even caught something strange in a photo. Is it a ghost? Maybe. All I can say is it's not a ghost. You tell me. The tour lasts for about an hour and ends back downstairs where you can walk in the crypt. At one point, it acted as a morgue and housed 70 dead bodies. Understandably, not a lot of folks wanted to go in and check it out. I, however, like to tempt fate. For $12, it was a fun, informative hour. I'd recommend it. After all that ghost hunting, we were ready for lunch. We ended up at the Red Dog Saloon, not for the musical history of the place, but for the baby changing station, the rarest of commodities in this commodity-founded town. According to the parking lane attendant, there were only 2 in the entire town, the other being at the visitor center. Of course, she could have had a secret deal going on with the Red Dog. I didn't investigate further, but regardless, the food was solid. I think they might be known for their pizzas, but we opted for chicken wings, garlic fries, and a salad. The wings were hot, the garlic fries were addictive, and the salad actually hit the spot. It was casual, friendly, and satisfying. A worthy stop if you're traveling with family. After lunch, we headed over to the Way It Was Museum. I wasn't exactly sure what to expect. It's as if someone decided to turn an antique store into a history museum. Outside, old mining tools quietly rust in the sun. Inside, it's a hodgepodge of historical bric-a-brac. Photos, documents, old safes, dolls, you name it. Don't get me wrong, it was utterly fascinating. There was a model of the underground mines showing just how expansive the whole operation was. There were also multiple displays of antique pharmaceutical packaging. Apparently, cocaine used to be prescribed as a sleep aid. Who knew? And how did that work? The whole place felt like the townsfolk collectively donated whatever they found in their grandparents' attics and said, "Here you go, figure it out." By the time we left, you really did get a sense of the way it was, so yeah, the name kind of works. After the museum, my mom, sister, and niece were all feeling the day, so we decided to head back to the car. We popped in for a quick pick-me-up at the roasting house. We must have come at a good time because it wasn't crowded. The cafe sits in an 1876 brick building that once housed the Brass Rail Saloon. These days, the only thing left is the old countertop, now serving espresso instead of whiskey. The coffee was actually pretty good considering my sister accidentally ordered me a caramel macchiato, which is normally too sweet for me, but the coffee flavor really powered through the sweetness. If you have more time in Virginia City, there's a lot more to explore. There are saloons all over town, many with their own quirks and historic charm. Some even offer live music or poker nights. The Ponderosa Saloon lets you tour an old mine shaft right beneath the bar. They also have a free display of what a vault used to look like back when the bank was there. The bank was robbed in broad daylight and much of the loot was never recovered. There's speculation it's hidden somewhere near 6 Mile Canyon. On weekends, there are gunfight reenactments in the street. Loud, a little cheesy, but fun. You can also visit the historic schoolhouse or check out shops selling old-timey candy, handmade leather goods, and jewelry. I'll admit, I wanted to stay longer. There's a lot in Virginia City that I didn't get to explore, but when a baby's on board, you gotta go with the flow. By the time we got back to Tahoe, we were starving and ended up choosing this Thai restaurant called Orchid for dinner. We got a few dishes to share, with the som tam being the highlight. Everything was pretty good, and what I liked was that their dishes were not as sweet as you can sometimes find in other Thai establishments. Exhausted from a long day, we went straight to bed. The next day was our travel day back to the Bay Area. Instead of heading straight home, we took the scenic route up north along the lake so that we could make a pit stop at the Donner Pass Memorial Site, a historic spot that's been on my bucket list for years. It's about an hour's drive from South Lake Tahoe to the Donner Memorial State Park, but it's a gorgeous drive with views of boats floating on the lake and cute little mountain houses surrounded by trees, which is perfectly at odds with the history of the memorial. So for those unfamiliar with this tale, the Donner Party was a group of pioneers who set out for California in 1846, but were trapped by early snows here in the Sierra Nevadas. Short on supplies, they endured a brutal winter, with many dying of starvation. Some, in desperation, resorted to cannibalism. Today, the site is marked by a solemn memorial that stands as a reminder of both human endurance and the peril of westward expansion. There's an excellent book on it by Daniel James Brown called The Indifferent Stars Above, and I highly recommend you read it. I had long been familiar with the story, so it was a little surreal to be standing at the site where this tragic story took place. Even more so because the actual area is breathtakingly beautiful. There's a small river running through the area, winding in between meadows and trees. It's hard to imagine what this place would be like in the winter, with feet of snow piling up around you. The memorial site building tells the story of the Donner Party through its main exhibition, as well as some local California history. Since this is a state park, there's camping and lake activities available here if you're brave enough to stay. After you leave the memorial and start heading back onto the highway, you start passing through steep and craggy rocks, the very ones that the Donner Rescue Party had to go through. It's incredibly humbling to think of them and all of the early pioneers who traveled through these mountains on horseback and wagons without the luxury of downy jackets or insulated boots. It makes you grateful to be living in a time that you can just zip through the switchbacks that would have taken them days, and your only frustration is traffic. Back on the highway and full of cannibalism stories, we made a quick pit stop at In-N-Out for burgers, naturally. You can't leave California without paying homage to our state hamburger chain. I think that's a law somewhere. Our final destination was in San Jose, capping my trip with dinner at Pastichos, a Portuguese spot. It was the perfect send-off, rich flavors, cozy vibes, and a nod to California's immigrant roots. We stuffed ourselves with a bit of everything: bacalao, caldo verde, clams, shrimp, duck rice, grilled sardines, pulpo, and flan. I can't get anything like this where I live, so I had to pig out, obviously. The next morning, I boarded my flight back to Virginia, road trip complete. Ask anybody who's been, it's always hard to leave California. It's such a unique place. It's quirky, historic, beautiful, and always an adventure. That's what makes it fun and so memorable. I hope I was able to give you a taste of what makes this place home. If you want to plan your own trip to Northern Cali, stick around for some travel notes. Hey guys, welcome to Travel Notes. This is the section of the video where I share some of the helpful things that I learned from my trip in the hope that it helps you plan for yours. I'm going to keep this one more general to the Bay Area. If you want a specific travel notes on Tahoe, I did a deeper dive in that video, so go check that one out. Okay, so first we're gonna talk getting around the bay. If you don't have a car, you can get around pretty easily using public transit in San Francisco and like the surrounding area. There's BART, there's ferries, all kinds of taxis, Ubers, Lyfts, you name it. But once you leave the Bay Area, you're gonna want a car for flexibility. There is the Amtrak train, which will take you to other parts of California, but you're dependent on their schedule, so it could take you longer. A car is just gonna give you a lot more flexibility and save you time. All right, and this one's important. I would recommend always having a plan B. Wildfires are a real threat and can literally happen the day that you're leaving for your trip, and so it can force you to change your plans real fast. If you are going on a road trip, I would recommend that you check your route on Google Maps before you leave, because that's what happened with us, and Google Maps was actually really good about letting us know about the fire that was happening in June Lake. So after a little bit of a scramble, we were able to change our plans to Tahoe. Had I waited later on to turn on the GPS, it would have been harder for us to kind of turn around and detour. And so just to save you the headache and the stress, it's just good to have a plan B in case a wildfire messes up your plan A. All right, cool. So now we'll talk about arriving into the Bay Area. One of the great things is that airports are abundant here. You have a wide range of choices to fly into. So the major airports for the area are San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, and there's even a smaller one out in Santa Rosa, which I have flown into before. They're all like 2 to 3 hours-ish away from each other with public transport. So if you are flying to San Francisco, it is worth it to check one of the surrounding airports because it could be cheaper. That's what happened for my trip. I actually flew into San Jose because it ended up being significantly cheaper than flying into San Francisco. Okay, the last tip we're gonna go over is packing for the Bay's summertime over here. For anybody who's visiting San Francisco for the first time, this is for you. Don't be fooled by the words summer. San Francisco is notorious for being cold in the summertime. I'm talking like colder than Tahoe. This is gonna be your months of like May, June, July. What we have are called Indian summers, so it's a lot warmer in September and October. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've seen tourists visiting San Francisco wearing super short shorts, spaghetti tank tops, and just freezing their butts off because they were unaware that for most of the day, San Francisco can be very cold. You actually just want to dress in layers because if you start in San Francisco and you decide to leave and go to a different part of the bay, you're going to be peeling off these layers because it can get significantly warmer, like 10 degrees or more outside of the city. And even in different parts of the city, or depending on the time of day in the city, like mornings will start out much colder, afternoons, sometimes the fog rolls back out and the sun decides to come and then it gets warm. But typically it's going to be cooler in San Francisco in the summertime. All right, well, that's all the tips that I have for now. Let me know if you've done a similar kind of trip or if I missed out any other tips actually that would be helpful for people to know. I hope you all enjoyed my video on my Northern California road trip. I hope all of you get a chance to visit this part of the state if you haven't already. It's truly a special place. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps my channel grow. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay curious and keep exploring.